Welcome back to my story. So, this is the book that we're gonna read. Anne of the Green Gables. It's the 7th time that we are reading Anne of the Green Gables. And this is chapter 11. Chapter 11. A Tempest in the School Teapot. Suddenly, it was September, and time for school. It was Anne's first chance to attend school with other children, and she was both nervous and excited. Marilla watched her work down the lane. Anne was such an odd girl. Marilla hoped she'd be able to get along with other children. When Anne returned home that night, Marilla knew she had nothing to worry about. I'm a little behind my reading, but it won't take a long time to catch up. Math will be a bit harder, though. Anne ate a cookies Marilla had baked in honor of this special day. I met some lovely girls, though, but, of course, still loved Diana best. And Jane Andrews told me Minnie Macpherson told her she heard Prixie and Andrews tell Sarah Gills I had a pretty nose. Wasn't that lovely? Do you think it's true, Marilla? Do I have a pretty nose? Your nose is nice enough, said Marilla shortly. Secretly, she thought Anne's nose was pretty, but she had no intention of telling her so. Mr. Phillips is quite strict, and he pays more attention to the older children, Anne said. Anne, Marilla scolded, you shouldn't speak about your teacher like that. Oh, I'm not saying an untruth, Marilla, Anne insisted. You can ask anyone. A few weeks passed, and all had gone smoothly. Then one morning, as they walked down the road, Diana said, I guess Gilbert will be in school today. He's been visiting his cousins in a New Brunswick this all summer. Gilbert Burnstead, Anne remembered hearing the name at school. His father is town doctor, and is ever so handsome. He's 2 years older than us, but in our grade because he took 2 years off when his father was sick. They went to Alberta, and Gilbert didn't go to school. He's very clever, though, Anne. You'll have no time beating for him in a head of class. I'm glad, Anne said quickly. I prefer to the challenge. It doesn't mean as all to beat only little kid of spelling bee. During class, Diana leaned close to Anne. That's Gilbert in the back of the room, she said. He was a tall boy with a curly brown hair. Anne watched as he pulled the braids of Ruby Gills, and when she tried to stand up. He took a right at Anne afterwards and winked. I think Gilbert Blythe is handsome, confided Anne to Diana, but very bold. It isn't polite to wink at a strange girl. That afternoon, as Anne worked hard on her math problems, Gilbert tried to get her attention. He wasn't used to having her work so hard at it. This was something new for him. Gilbert reached across the aisle and picked up the end of Anne's long red braid, holding it out an arm's length. He said to whisper, Carrots! Carrots! Anne heard him this time. She looked angrily back at him. You mean boy! She cried. How dare you! Then, twack! Anne brought her slate down on Gilbert's head and cracked it, slate, not head, in two. The Invola school always enjoyed a scene, and it has a good one. There were oohs and gasps in the room. The teacher, Mr. Phillips, stormed up to Anne. "Anne Shirley, what does it mean?" he said angrily. Anne did not answer. It was too small to tell whole class that Gilbert said her carrots. "It was my fault," Gilbert said. "I teasered." Mr. Phillips paid no attention to Gilbert. "It's a great disappointment to see people behaving like this," Mr. Phillips said. "Anne, go and stand on the platform in front of blackboard of the rest of the afternoon." With a sad, white face, Anne did as she was told. On the blackboard, Mr. Phillips wrote twice, "Anne Shirley has a very bad temper." It was a terrible punishment for Anne, one of the worst she could imagine. When school was over and marched out with a lead held high, Gilbert tried to catch her at the door. "I'm sorry I made fun of your hair, Anne," he whispered. "Honest I am. Don't be mad at me, huh?" Anne swept by without looking at him. "I shall never forgive Gilbert Blythe," Anne said to Diana on their way home. "And Mr. Phillips spelled with my name without E too." "Don't pay attention to Gilbert. He teases all the girls. He even makes fun of my hairs because it's so black. He calls me a crow," Diana said. The next day, Mr. Phillips decided to rearrange the class and put Anne next to Gilbert. She sat down and buried her face in the arms on the desk. Gilbert took him from the desk of a little pink candy and writing on it, "You are sweet," and slipped under the Anne's arm. Anne lifted her head, picking up the heart gingerly. Let drop on the floor. She put her head down and stayed on the way of the rest afternoon. At the end of the day, she packed up all her books, determined never return to school again. "But Anne," Diana cried, "you can't desert me. I'm sure Mr. Phillips will let us sit together again. I think of all the fun you will miss if you stay home." "If you demand it of me, Diana, then yes, I'll stay in school," Anne said. "But I promise you I'll never speak to Gilbert Blythe as long as I go to Avoma School." Months slipped, but Anne got into her usual scraps. Soon she was quite well known to all of Avoma. Diana's mother complained that Diana was finding trouble. With Anne's help, Mrs. Very complained to the other woman that Diana was coming home with a dress dirty and torn. It seems she and Ed would play in the brook and get wet, or they would climb trees and snag their clothes, and didn't mind so much if her dress tore. "They are so plain," she told Marilla, "but Diana's are so pretty. It's a shame when hers are ruined." So, let me find how long is chapter 12 to see if we can read chapter 12 too. But I don't think it's gonna make it. So, how was the story about? So, today I have a special request for you. Today I'm gonna ask you to say in the comment, so far, who is your best character? And secondly, do you think Gilbert are guilty or Anne was too troublemaker? Or Diana was so good at Gilbert, so that is why they're having a trouble? Or do you think their homeroom teacher are bad? So, who do you think is the most bad person in this story so far? So, Answer the comment, please.